get back into the real life, what things are. But also, a lot of us have PTSD.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of us have physical and mental problems besides PTSD.
Oh, yeah.
And, to me, what I love about Mesa City Track so much, you guys are going to laugh at this, but it's just that little building they put up. I sit up there every night ever since they put that up. I use my scooter because I do have a scooter and stuff. It's the greatest thing in the world to have because one is it gets you off the ground. Because before I'd be on the ground, and especially in Mason City, you couldn't see anything in the front stretch.
At the Mason City Speedway, just for you viewers, first of all, I want to say Mr. Nostalgia here in the Nostalgia Dirt Series studios, and we have the honor of a veteran coming to kind of look around and see our headquarters here in Mason City, Iowa. And we have the honor of sitting down and talking to Mr. Tim Hartwig. And we just really, it's an honor to have you come here to our Nostalgia Dirt Series headquarters and offer to. This is a great surprise to sit down and hear some of your stories and how you think and what you feel about. We want to thank you for your service to our country from all the staff at Nostalgia Dirt Series. We just are humbled and appreciative of all our veterans. What I think you're talking about at the Mason City Speedway is Todd Staley and his staff put together a special place for people with wheelchairs and different disabilities to be able to go and be safe and watch the races.
Right.
And do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, it helps because we get off the ground, but also besides being off the ground and being able to see and not get all the dirt, it gets you to be able to see in the background the pit area and everything, which is different too.
Sure.
And I know some people would think I'm kind of crazy, but the sound of V8 engines are like music to me.
Me too.
There is nothing too loud and nothing too fast.
Right.
So, and to be able to get up there and stay out of the dust, the rock, and be able to see, and to be able to get up there with scooters, wheelchairs, and so on. I think there's 7 of us up there last Sunday.
Wow. Awesome. And it sounds like they had a really great show last Sunday.
Oh, phenomenal. The super late models went green to checkered.
Yeah.
Nonstop.
Yeah. I went out there a little early just to see how Todd was doing out as a newer in the business promoter. I like to watch the veteran promoters and see what they do and the decisions they make, and Todd Staley at Mason City, Ron Reefer at the Kossuth County Raceway, Jeff Freevert, Zach Gayerhart in Fairmont, Minnesota. I just kind of like to watch. It's my belief that if you want to be successful, then you watch the people who are being successful at what you want to do, And so I went out to the Mason City Speedway and saw Todd Staley and his team working hard to make sure that track was in A1 shape, and I did a go live myself, and in the studio here we're getting geared up for our big events, but I could hear them rolling out there, so they had a good show, hon.
Yeah, too, being a promoter, if you know what you're doing with the track, look at last Sunday, for instance, there are barely any cautions.
Mm-hmm.
And the one caution was pretty bad, but it was a car that hit the wall, destroyed it.
Sure.
Barely.
Sure.
But other than that, there wasn't any much for flat tires. It wasn't much, I'm out there to watch the racing, not demolition derby.
Right.
I want the guys to come back the next week.
Yeah.
Or the next night.
Well, not only are you a veteran, but I don't know if our audience knows you also raced. So you know the cost and the time and everything it takes to put into a racing program. So there are people that go to the races to see the wrecks, but Those of us that know what kind of skin you have in the game, wrecks aren't so good.
No, we've had a couple ourselves where we literally destroyed the front end of the car, and luckily my father was a metallurgist, and we're able to figure out how to get it back together by just going to the junkyard and getting another front end.
Right.
Welding in a chunk of tubing and putting it over the top and welding it, and then welding plate over that. And we had it within 1/8 of an inch.
Sure. Yeah.
Wheelbase to wheelbase. So
Tim and I were just talking out here. We were looking at the Dave Noble Camaro that the Wizard is restoring in the Mac Tools restoration shop. And we were just talking about back in the day, our fathers, most of the parts and most of the race cars were all home built, to the rims, to the roll cages, the weld pipe, and just how much different it was back in those days. You didn't go to the store and buy your racing equipment. You built it, you made it. So
and especially back then, people were still trying to make their cars immaculate. Right. Because they knew they couldn't get back on a track without sponsorship.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, even back then, sponsorship was important. My father raced from, I think, 1965 to 1970. And so I've got racing in my blood.
It's come my way too. And, luckily, like I said, my dad was a metallurgist. And so I guaranteed he was on the card no matter what.
Sure.
His business was always at the top of the list, because without him, we wouldn't have been there.
Sure. So I have a question for you about your service to our country. What led you to sign up to serve our country? What motivated you to do that?
Well, one was family, but also I wanted to do something for myself that was going to make me better and be able to go to school, because I was really big with diesel mechanics. Mm-hmm. Is what I was really wanting to, get into. And so I joined the service, and I thought, well, I'll use a GI Bill to go on to school and stuff. And besides that, if I go in the military as my MOS or my job, I could get even more money to go towards that.
Sure.
Because then I could use the schooling back in the military.
Right.
So that was my whole idea. And but that came to a screeching halt in September of 1990. I was a week away from going down to Des Moines to go to college, and it was taken away. Because we got activated for the Desert Shield. And it didn't bother me none, but I've had a lot of family serve our country, and I also thought of a way of, making myself better as a better person. Sure. Besides, getting it's a heck of a way of getting work ethic.
Right.
And, the work ethic is pretty big in the military.
Sure.
You don't go anywhere if you don't work hard.
Right.
So, but, I've been to more countries than most people have been to states.
What's that like? Tell our viewers what that's like.
Well, we're used to being able to go to a grocery store as a family and getting groceries. We're used to seeing, farms with cattle, crops and stuff. A lot of these foreign countries I've been to, their herding is minimal because they don't have farms because they blow away.
Sure. From one day to the next.
But like when I was in Korea, they did have rice paddies all over, but they were when I landed there, I thought we were back in the 40s or 50s because it was that bad.
Wow.
Low car count. People were accepting over there, very accepting in reality. But then we go to Saudi Arabia, and it's kind of like a little bit of the opposite. You see fancy cars, lots of money rolling around.
Right.
But their ideas and ways are a whole lot different than we're ever used to.
Sure.
Like I said, families today, we go grocery shopping as a family and so on. Over there, it's only men are allowed in grocery stores.
Right.
And in fact, one day we decided we were going to go and have ice cream one day, and the guy wasn't going to serve us. Two of our ladies that we had with us, and he said that they had to go the other side because there's only 3 flavors ice cream. And we told them, well, if they're not good enough to serve them ice cream, they're not good enough for us.
Right.
So we told them if they don't serve them gals, we weren't gonna give them American money.
Sure.
That's what they wanted.
Right.
So, and over there, women are treated like livestock here, and sometimes even worse. So
it's just, so that's what I like to talk about with these interviews. Some people in this country say because of politics or gas prices or whatever that, it sucks to be in this country and just have a negative attitude about our United States, But if they only knew, if they could see things like through your veteran eyes, what you saw, that's one of our missions at Nostalgia Dirt Series, is trying to build an appreciation for this country, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, or this still is the greatest nation on earth, in my opinion.
Well, the red, white, and blue is everything. I bleed red, white, and blue. And, the whole thing is that people, you don't know what you got until you lose it. So, I watched one guy, for instance, trade his daughter for 2 camels and a cow. And
Wow.
Cows are rare over there. And yet he traded 2 camels and a cow for his daughter.
Right.
Now, I wouldn't trade my daughter for nothing.
No.
I mean, granted, she can have her own family and all that, but I don't want her just going to some goofy guy.
Right.
A guy that has 6, 7 wives or more. And
Right.
one guy we met in Kuwait had 100 and some kids.
Wow.
And he wanted to get our refrigerator. And we're like, nope. Because when we were in Kuwait, we were in a building that was being built for preschool and elementary, which for us was pretty nice because it had a perimeter, a concrete wall. All we did was put some wire around the top.
Sure.
And then the roof, we were able to put some support on that. And then, it was pretty decent. I mean, the bad part was one day we saw a Pizza Hut sign and we was like, hey, I wonder if they're even open. We get over there and the sign is immaculate. Building is gone.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, it just...
So what was it like being in the service over in those countries? Are you on a heightened alert? What's your feelings like? You're walking down the street. Are you worried that somebody is going to want to take your life? What is that like being a service person?
Even in Saudi Arabia, which was pretty strong in military strength for the U.S., we would want to go and make a phone call home, and they would make us go in groups of no less than 3. And whoever on the phone had to have the mag out of your weapons and no round in the chamber, because that way it couldn't be taken away from you and used against you.
Sure.
The other 2 were supposed to be the support for you. In other words, protection.
Right.
And of course, most of the time that we could call home, it was a bad time here. But families didn't care.
Right.
Most of the time I called home, it was 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning.
Sure.
But it was the only time I could get to a phone.
Sure.
Go from there. But Kuwait was a little different because it was still a hot spot.
Mm-hmm.
So you always watch your back and everybody else's back, because without one, you're not any good. Every person you lose, even wounded, it hurts you as a team.
Right.
So you watch everybody else's back along with your own, and you carry on. And I looked at it as, it's even to this day, they're family. They're not friends. They're family.
Right.
They're my brothers.
I hear that from a lot of the veterans. It becomes another family and a brotherhood.
Oh, yes.
I hear that a lot.
Very close. It's like I said, I've got 3 kids of my own, and but in reality, I got 7. That's the way I kind of look at it.
Right.
The bad part is that we came home with so many problems that a lot of our children were born with problems.
Yeah.
And some people don't understand that point either.
Yeah.
So it costs us on more than one end. And because like for me, I've been disabled since 1995, and racing's been in my blood, and I keep going when I can. And I gotta watch where I can travel on my own. This is about as far as I can travel. My family says on my own.
Sure.
Otherwise, my wife travels. She still goes to the races all the time with me, usually anyway. But the racing part is just a help.
Sure.
I mean, it's like I said, the V8s aren't noise to me. That's a song being sung.
Right.
And the people, you're not going to find much better people in the country. I mean, yeah, you got your problems. You hear of guys saying, yeah, well, I'm a nice guy without a helmet on and inside the car. When I'm inside the car, I'm out for one thing, and that's that checkered flag. Mm-hmm. And it's shown.
Right.
Including this last Sunday night.
Yeah.
So, but
adrenaline does strange things.
It does. And adrenaline, there again in the military, the adrenaline can help you, but it can also burn you, because when you use adrenaline, it peters you out after a while. Right. It slows you down.
So, when you were in the military and you had a heightened sense of, you had to have friends with you to watch your back and stuff. So now, going to the races or going to the market, or how does that affect you in any way? Being a civilian now, do you still have that heightened sense of
above and beyond? My head is on a swivel. I have a hard time trusting anybody. Mm-hmm. I know it sounds kind of weird, but I tell my family to watch each other's back and pay attention. And because even in this country, we got bad people. Mm-hmm. Yep. So you got to watch each other's back and watch for problems. But the problem with being like a vet is that you pay attention to everything, and actually you don't pay attention to what you should in times.
Sure.
Like your grandkids and stuff. But And that just that makes you look different. Mm-hmm. When people stare at you when your head's on a swivel, bouncing around, looking around, I would rather shop. I liked it when Walmart was open 24 hours, because I'd love shopping at 1 o'clock in the morning, because then there are less people. Mm-hmm. And
well, my stepson just graduated. He's a combat medic for the Army, and he just graduated. And one of the things that I'm seeing is he's going to be deployed here before too long. But one of the things I'm seeing is he's having a tough transition with his family, because he's had this military training and his kids and his spouse really don't understand. He's like, he feels this way. He's been, what it is like. He's been trained this way, and civilians really don't understand. When you give, people say I gave my life for the service. It's not necessarily that you have just the people that have passed away, but you truly give your life for the service. It affects you the rest of your life, your family, friends, all that stuff.
Well, my wife, for instance, before I went over to the Gulf, said I was one person, and then when I come home, I was a whole different person. She told me, a lot of things changed, and not all good. And I